Welcome everyone, it's PersonaUserMike here, and I have a special super fun edition of my personal favorite games, one per system. It's been tough, it's been very tough, and I'm still not 100% sure, but when I think about the games that I could go back and play over and over again, I've picked them. So I'm a lot older than most of game reviewers, so I'm going to start with the first system that I did play. Well, I can't start with Pong because there was only one game, but I'll start with the Atari 2600, and gotta go with Pac-Man, of course. It was what it was, and I played a lot of it. Wasn't my favorite system at the time either, because I was actually more into Intellivision, which moves on to my next one. Dracula on the Intellivision. This is the first game where you play as a bad guy. You play as Dracula. You actually get to walk around the streets, bite people, and then they turn into zombies. Now, I know Angry Video Game Nerd did a video on this where you have to use a second controller to move the zombies around. It gets, but you know what? I just let the zombies go and do whatever. But it's just fun to walk around and bite people, and that whole concept was unique. I loved it at the time. Another cool game on that system was He-Man, but it was too repetitive, so Dracula got that spot. Moving on to the next system. I'm only going to cover systems that I've played on, unfortunately, so no Nintendo 64 will be on here, unfortunately. No GameCube, no Wii games, unless it's a game that's multi-system. Moving on. Nintendo Entertainment System. Love it. I still love it. There are just so many good games on that system. To pick one is so hard. Like Blaster Master, Mario Brothers 2. I'm very obscure with my choices. You'll find that out. So Super Mario Brothers 3 may have been everyone else's choice, but I liked Mario 2, and yes, I know it wasn't originally a Mario game, but maybe that's why I liked it a lot more. And it was tough because I'm also a huge fan of Simon's Quest, but being able to play them all over again recently, I found the game that I could come back to more and more. Surprisingly enough, my favorite game on the NES is actually Contra Part 1. It was the first game I picked up and started playing again when I started playing these old Nintendo games again. It's a game that I know so well. I love the music, the sound, everything is just perfect. Sound effects, the action, the fast response time, co-op gameplay. I love the game, and I may love, Goonies and Goonies 2, but in reality, I would not like to keep playing those games over and over again, but I could play Contra again right now. Hey, right now, give me a call, we'll play Contra together. Anyway, so that's my NES. Moving on to Super Nintendo. Again, lots of good games on there, but again, I'm an obscure person. I'm not going to be a fan of what everyone else is. I absolutely love and adore, even to this day, Final Fantasy II. The reality is it's Final Fantasy IV, everyone knows that by now, but Final Fantasy IV is my favorite game on Super Nintendo still to this day, because it is still my favorite Final Fantasy. The storyline is amazing. If they made a movie of that storyline, nothing to do with Final Fantasy, I would love that movie. The music, the soundtrack on almost every single tune is just amazing. The regular battles, the boss battles, the special boss battles, Battle of the Four Fiends, my favorite boss song in history. The fact that your characters change afterwards. Some good characters die. It's no spoiling, come on, look how old that game is by now if you haven't played it. So anyway, that's my favorite on the Super Nintendo. Moving on to the Genesis that I love to death. And and I thought it would be Moonwalker. I loved Moonwalker, but after replaying everything over again, it's still gotta be, if you know me, you know what it is by now. Streets of Rage 3. And again, I know everyone loves part 2, but that's because part 3 was too hard. Well, suck it up and win the game. Suck it up and practice. Figure out how to beat it. By now, you should be able to figure it out. I mean, I named my daughter after a character in the game. Need I say more? The gameplay, that beat 'em up game is just super amazing. The sound effects, the quality, the response, and another reason why I like part 3 better, you can play as more characters. The first level boss, you beat him and then you die, you can choose him. On top of that, when you fight Roo, the kangaroo, and the trainer, you beat the trainer and not the kangaroo, you can beat him afterwards. So, plenty of reason to love Streets of Rage 3. There's also a boss battle against 3 ninjas, and not only did they have their own song, but I just loved that boss battle. I love how the ending is not the typical stereotype of the first 2. You fight Mr. Big. I love how you have to go save the president, and there's a time limit, and you have to know where to find him. And a lot of people hated that because they didn't get it, but there's strategy guides out there now. Go do it now. It's a lot of fun. The game is just so responsive. The only thing I don't like about it is that 4th character, the old man. But, you know, like, it was the 3 main characters all along that everyone loves anyway. So that's my favorite on the Genesis. Moving on, I did not own any other Sega console, unfortunately. At that time I didn't own any other Nintendo console, so for me, I made a loop to Sony PlayStation. We moved to Sony PlayStation 1. Again, this system is amazing. There's so many good games. It is so hard to choose a game on PlayStation 1. It is just so hard. But I've made a choice, that's why I'm making the video. So my choice for my personal favorite PlayStation 1 game is Chrono Cross. And unlike most people, I played Chrono Cross before I played Chrono Trigger. So I did not play Chrono Trigger when I owned a Super Nintendo. What is it about Chrono Cross that is so amazing? The soundtrack is out of this world amazing. It's got emotion to it. The story has an amazing twist. Halfway through the game, the bad guy kills you, your main character, you're dead. And then you start playing as the bad guy in his body. It's amazing. And then you get to recruit all new people. So there's like, I think like over 30 characters you can play as, but look at this, they're not just generic swaps. No, these characters have each 3 limit breaks, kind of like Final Fantasy, 3 specials. It's incredible. And then on top of each character of the 30 having 3 special limit breaks, you also have some cross effects where 2 characters can do a special together uniquely, and then you can do a tri effect where some of them you can do 3 effects together. And on top of all of that, you've got summons. This game is just insane crazy. It's incredible. The soundtrack, the story, the characters, and there's 9 endings and a debug room. After you beat the game, you can go to this developer room, and there's some fun little games where you talk to certain people, they say funny things, you can try and, you know, fight them for fun, and some of the people, they're like, okay, good night, and then reset, it looks like a reset your system. They start talking about, you know, it just goes like, you know, Sunsoft, and then goes to Squaresoft, and it goes right to the front to the title screen, and you're like, what? Oh my god, I didn't save it, and then it goes back to that screen. So that's my favorite PlayStation 1 game. Continuing on, now that we're on to PlayStation 2, because again I was following the PlayStation era. So I was playing a lot of PlayStation 1 games, still on my PlayStation 2, and there was just so many games coming out. I mean, Kingdom Hearts, you had Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 on PlayStation 1. They were great games too, and I know everyone loves them. Believe me, I love them too, but just Chrono Cross had a special time and place of when I played it that was so emotional to me. So moving on to PlayStation 2, very difficult to choose, very difficult. I mean, you have Final Fantasy X, just incredible game, and in Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2, they were special to me, and I love the characters, the stories, the emotions, but my number one PlayStation 2 game of all time is not any of those. So it is actually Persona 4. And I played Persona 3 and I loved it as well. But Persona 4 still to this day is probably, as you can tell by my username, is just incredible. The story, the music. I imported from Japan a region-only DVD of one of the concerts that had the Persona 3 and Persona 4 live music. That's how much I love the Persona music. Now, Persona 4 has an amazing story, amazing twist at the end. The gameplay is addictive. You can get all these extra characters and whatnot. However, Atlas overdid it with Persona 4. They shot out a fighter, then a fighter sequel, then they had the special edition on the Vita, then they shot out the anime, then the anime special edition, and then they had a dance all night thing, and I got Persona'd out. So it is still my favorite PS2 game, Persona 4. However, I think they overkilled it afterwards, trying to milk every little bit of money they can. Moving on to the next game system will be the Vita. I own the Vita. I love the Vita. Actually, I own the PSP. So let me back up. So PSP is very simple. Crisis Core, hands down, and it was an exclusive, and you can still only play it on a PSP or if you use emulation. This game is incredible. It's emotional. Now, I am going to spoil it because chances are if you haven't played it by now, you're not going to play it. But the reason why it's amazing is because you've got to understand the mechanics behind Final Fantasy VII's story. Cloud thought he was Zack the whole time, so Zack is dead in the Final Fantasy VII story. So as you're playing Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, you're playing as Zack, who is a member of Soldier, but you know that he's going to die at the ending. So the more you play it, the more you feel connected to him and wondering, oh, maybe there's something else where he's not going to die. But the glorious part about this game is the ending sequence. Now, the ending of this is incredible because during the game, while you fight soldiers, there's a little roulette wheel in the corner where it shows characters' faces instead of cherries or so as it rolls, if you get it, it gives you advantages during that battle. So at the end, you actually have to fight an infinite amount of soldiers. You can't die, so your energy gets low, but you just keep fighting, them, and as it's happening, they start playing amazing music that was in the game, that has an emotion to it, and as soon as they play, he's about to die because you know the story already. And that roulette wheel is only supposed to be for us, right? So fourth wheel starts breaking, and that wheel starts to glitch, and then it shows one of the characters that he interacted with, and then it cuts in the middle of the battle. It cuts to a cutscene of something that the character said to you that connects with Zach. And they're playing this emotional music in the background while he's saying that while he's about to die. You're just like full of emotion this time, going, oh my god, the emotion is incredible. And it just starts glitching again, and it gets all silent, and then you know he's gonna die. And it's fourth wall glitching because that thing is not supposed to have anything to do with actual in-game. It's supposed to be like for us players to see. It's an emotional, amazing ending. Go YouTube the ending. I might do a video on that because it is probably one of the best endings I've ever seen in a video game. And it's too bad it was only on PSP. I really wish I could play that on a big screen or any other way. Moving on back to the Vita. Now, the problem is a lot of Vita games can be played on the PlayStation 4, so if I was to cheat like that, I would say Undertale would probably be my favorite Vita game. It's incredible. However, I'm going to go with Vita exclusive only, and I'm going to have to go with Murasama. It's Murasama Rebirth, and it's made by the same people that made the game. Same people that made Odin Sphere. It's an incredible graphical game, but they even use certain elements of the controls where you hold down the button and then you move your character up or left, and they do slashes across the screen. It was amazing. I really loved it, and it was a lot of fun. Again, Dragon's Crown was amazing for PS3 and Vita, but again, I won't choose that as my Vita game exclusive. It's got to be Murasama Rebirth at this moment that I played, at least. That was a fantastic game. Moving on to PlayStation 3. Now, anyone who knows PersonaUserMike must know already my favorite PlayStation 3 game. Do I need to even tell you guys? Come on. You know I've got the copy right here. Nier is just... This game is probably, out of all these games that I'm saying, it is probably my favorite game of all time. I've been playing for years, since I was just a little kid when Atari and Intellivision came out, so I've played a hell of a lot of games. And again, like I said, I like the obscure stuff and hidden gems, and this has got to be the epitome, the definition of a hidden gem. Where do I even start? Let me not go into too much details. I don't want to come off as a fanboy, but let's just say it's very, the story starts off small, father trying to save his daughter, but it is so deep, it gets so deep and twisted. It's got an atmosphere with some Celtic style stuff, some medieval stuff, but the game starts off with buildings. So what happens is it's way in the future and civilization's lost. And Nier, assuming that's what you called him because you can name your character, his daughter is sick. So he's looking for medicine for her. That's where the story starts, and then it starts getting twisted, and there's twists at the ending, and there's emotional scenes where boss battles will happen, and they have some amazing music playing in the background while characters are talking and expressing themselves, and it just makes you feel for them, and you almost have to pause it. You're like, whoa, this is just too much emotion going on here. And you can play through the game once, and then when you play through a second time, you start to see other cutscenes on things that you missed, and then you get the other ending. And there's multiple endings on this, and it is a pleasure to play them again. The side quests aren't too bad. You don't have to go all the way over the place. So the gameplay style is a hack and slash, you know, like God of War, Dynasty Warriors, whatnot. But it adds in magic effects, lots of different weapons. You can ride a beast in it, like a wild boar in it. It's very unique. They even have this text-based mini game. There's a whole town where you go in and they're asleep, and you have to travel through a text-based mini game to unlock them. It's got side-scrolling platforming sections. The boss battles are in it. It's got bullet hell bosses in this. It's incredible, and the music is so incredible. They made a concert of this too, and of course, I guess with all the fan love, that's why we had Nier Automata on the PS4. Another amazing game. I'll get to that another time. We're just talking about the original Nier here. The characters are lovable, emotional. On top of that, the characters are voice acted. I played in English voices. Are voice acted by some of the top anime and video game voice actors that you would know. Liam O'Brien does Grimoire voice, the book, and of course Nier himself is also noted. He was in Fate Stay Night. He's been plenty of anime and video games. I can't recommend this game enough. If you're playing one game, if I was stranded on an island, it would be Nier. For sure. I could play it over and over again anytime. So that's my PS3 game. Now, my final is the PlayStation 4. Now, at this moment, there might be something new coming, but this is January 2018, and it's still hard to make a choice. I'm going to go with Witcher 3, because I put in so much time in that, and it was all well spent. I enjoyed being immersed in that, and there are so many games like that. There's Nier Automata, there's Final Fantasy 15, but by far, Witcher 3 I had the most fun, and the open world, the music was okay, it wasn't all that great, but for PlayStation 4 still is incredible. Just getting lost in there, and there's so many things out there in the world, it's not an empty world or whatnot. It's an incredible game. I love it. So there you have it. That's my top games of all time. Persona User Mike. I'll catch you next time. Hope you had fun.